Hey folks, this is Riker, bringing you a guide on a Barbarian build that I like to call the Thundergod Barb. And we're going to find out why in just a second. So we're going to start by taking a look at the skills, then what items you can use to further enhance this build, and we'll close by showing how the build plays out against monsters. So the focus of the build is to spec for purely lightning damage. And the main skill will be Whirlwind Wind Shear. So Wind Shear allows you to generate fury as you're whirlwinding, as Whirlwind uses up a lot of fury, and with Wind Shear, in my experience, I almost never run out of fury, and part of that is thanks to a passive Unforgiving. You no longer degenerate fury, instead you generate 2 fury every 1 second. So with the Whirlwind Wind Shear Lightning rune, we're going to want to spec everything else towards lightning damage, so that we can then boost our lightning damage with items. So on my primary, I have Weapon Throw, Mighty Throw, as my fury generator. I don't use it that often, but what I like about it is that it's a ranged attack, so it's great for hunting down a treasure goblin. It'll sometimes stun him for a second or stop him from running. Or in general, it's just nice as a barbarian to have some kind of ranged attack when you don't want to be standing in pools of lava and poison and the vortex, especially when they all come at the same time. So it's nice to have some kind of ranged option. Lightning will benefit from the gear we're going to discuss. Now, I like to take Earthquake to deal with high health enemies, be they bosses, be they champion or elite packs. Again, we're going for the Lightning rune. Then Overpower Killing Spree. Lightning, but the good thing about this is that your critical hit chance is increased by 8% for 5 seconds. And we're going to get into why crit chance is so important for this build. Battle Rage Bloodshed. Now this is just a great buff to have overall. It's an increase your damage and crit chance, and critical hits cause an explosion of blood, dealing 20% of the damage done to all other nearby enemies, and that's one reason why we want to maximize our crit chance, because we want to be critting as often as possible. You know, another option on that Battle Rage rune would be gain 1% critical hit chance for each enemy within 10 yards, but really what we want is to be dealing that extra damage from those explosions. And where's that other... yeah, the Marauder's Rage might be a more inviting option if you don't have a high crit chance, but if you can spec towards about 40% crit chance or higher, you'll really benefit with Bloodshed. Now, Warcry Invigorate, this is purely a defensive option. Initially I had Warcry Charge in order to generate fury, but I realized I don't tend to need a lot of fury, and I really benefited from having that life regeneration. That's what made me able to initially tackle Torment 1. Before that, I just did not have the... I had the toughness, but I couldn't recover enough health. I didn't have gear that really... my healing stat was really low. As you can see right now, healing is at 5,000, which is crap. I pop on Warcry, I'm up to 14,000, and that's enough to actually keep me alive in Torment 1. I rarely have any issue at all. Going back to the skills, Tough as Nails as a passive. Again, that's purely defensive. It's a nice 25% buff to armor. Weapon Master. This is a great skill to have all around. Sword Dagger, 8% increased damage. Mace Axe, 5 crit chance. So I do have a mace. Gonna get the 5% critical hit chance there. So if you can get that, that's great. If you have something else, that's not a bad option either. You know, the increased attack speed will also help, because the faster you're hitting, the more hits you're getting in, the more crits you'll get. Increased damage is always nice, and Mighty Weapons, 1 fury per hit. It's, I guess, suboptimal, but that's what I have on my offhand. I have a Mighty Weapon, and it does help with the fury generation. I definitely felt, ever since swapping out for the Mighty Weapon, that I don't find myself needing to use Warcry in order to generate fury, ever, really. We already covered Unforgiving, and that leaves us with Brawler. As long as there are 3 enemies within 12 yards, all your damage is increased by 20%. As a Whirlwind Barb, there will rarely be an instance in which there are not 3 enemies within 12 yards, so that's effectively a flat 20% damage increase, except when you're cleaning up a couple enemies here and there, or fighting bosses, in which case, that's when you use Earthquake, that, 2600% damage will make up for the Brawler, or the loss of Brawler coming into effect. So those are the skills. And now onto gear. What you're going to be looking for is stuff that increases critical hit chance, obviously, then attack speed, and then crit damage. Obviously, crit damage is great, it'll increase your overall damage, but crit chance is really important because you want to be keeping up overpower as often as possible. As long as overpower is on constantly, then your crit chance is effectively 8% higher all the time. And overpower will regenerate faster every time you crit, or it has a chance to every time you crit take a second off. So if you're critting half the time, then you can be maintaining overpower a fairly significant amount of time. And then lightning skills. Gear that gives you +% damage to lightning skills is paramount here. So if we look at my damage right now, you'll see that it's just under it's 500,000. That's unbuffed. Well, sorry, it's buffed. I have the Scoundrel giving me, what is it? 1.8% critical hit chance. That's not hugely significant, but I put all my Paragon points into critical hit chance because I'm trying to get that as high as possible. So we're up to 39.8%. If I pop Battle Rage, that number goes up to 42.8%, which means when I pop Overpower another 8%, I'm up to 50% crit chance, meaning every other hit is a crit. And at that point, the critical hit damage comes into play, which is fantastic. But more importantly, we see that the damage has gone up to 575k. But my lightning gear, I have 16% on my helm, I have 10% on my belt, 15% on my bracer, and another 19% on my weapon. In total, I have plus 60% lightning damage. So that 573 becomes 573 plus 60% of 573. But what we see is with the 60% buff across those various items, I'm hitting about 9 million damage. Sorry, 900,000 rather. 9 million would be very impressive. But then when I have Overpower on, that extra 8% crit chance brings me up to 1 million damage. And then my Whirlwind, my boots give me plus 15% damage to Whirlwind, which is the skill I'm using 90 to 95% of the time. That buffs me up to 1.17 million damage. And that's not even factoring in Whirlwind's, 275% weapon damage. So, in all, after all the math is taken into account, Whirlwind is hitting for 3.24 million just as a baseline, 3.24 million damage with Whirlwind as I'm just moving around. With Overpower up and maintaining that as much as possible, crit chance is 50%, so half the time I'm critting. Crit damage of 371%, plus 371%. We're critting for 15 million. And we're critting half the time. And again, we're going to look at our Battle Rage Bloodshed. Critical hits cause an explosion of blood, dealing 20% of the damage done to all other nearby enemies. 20% of the crit damage, 20% of 15 million to all other enemies. But wait, there's more. Odin's Son, Legendary Mace, 35% chance to chain lightning enemies when you hit them. So this is where increased attack speed is advantageous, because the more hits you're getting, the more chance to proc that effect. And the chain lightning damage is boosted from that 60% lightning damage from all the gear. And then we look at The belt, Thundergod's Vigor, blocking, dodging, or being hit causes you to discharge bolts of electricity that deal 118% weapon damage as lightning. Again, that is also buffed. So, now you understand why I call this the Thundergod Barb build. In fact, there are items that would make this even better. And I don't remember their names offhand, but really, when Blizzard talks about build-changing legendaries, these are build-changing legendaries. Final note on gearing. If you want to know how you can get more crit chance or attack speed, gloves will be a main source of crit chance, attack speed, and crit damage. Bracers will give crit chance, amulets, the trifecta, again, crit chance, attack speed, crit damage. Same with rings. Helms can get crit chance, and that's about it. If you know of any legendaries or skills that can make this build even more awesome, make sure to drop them in a comment below. And if you'd like to see more guides in the future, please like, comment, and subscribe.
Subscribe for more Diablo 3 and tabletop RPG content, including Reaper of Souls guides, RPG quick tips, character and campaign ideas, and live recorded Dungeons & Dragons sessions.